Hi everyone and welcome to episode 2 of Sound Design Experiments, and in today's episode I'm going to be doing a breakdown of my majors of Mystralia sound redesign. I'll show you the whole clip with my audio and then I'll get into how I created and layered the sounds. Okay, so I started off by adding in the atmosphere tracks and the character footsteps, so I added a layer of grass footsteps that I recorded. And I added a layer of birds that I'd recorded and a waterfall sound that I got from SoundSnap. I panned and automated them to fit the picture. Next I wanted to focus on the spell sound, and as you can see I used quite a lot of layers for the whole sound to make sure I covered as much of the frequency spectrum as I could. Okay, so I initially split the spell into two sections, one being the casting and one the explosion. So to start with the casting section, I used a recording of a door creaking and used sidechaining to help shape the sound and certain effects. So I used the Snap Heap plugin to connect this track to a bus, which was outputting a whoosh sound effect down here. This sound was then used to shape the gain of the door creak, a delay and a frequency shifter. So here's the sound dry and with each effect added. So with the base layer of the sound in, I wanted to create a sound for the spell being released, so I used my recording of a light switch that originally sounded like this. So to play around with this sound, I reversed it, shifted the frequency down and added a delay to make it sound like this. I then wanted to add a layer similar to white noise to fill out the frequency spectrum, so I recorded my sliding shower door to get this sound. So I again used a sidechain on this sound, which was connected to the same whoosh effect as before, but in a slightly different position. However, this time, the sidechain was only affecting the gain of the sound. I then added Soundtoys Decapitator and Devil Lock plugins. I wanted to add one more layer as I thought the sound still sounded a little thin, so I used a recording I found of a goose hiss, and I then stretched out this layer using the TCE setting and added a chorus effect. So here's what it sounds like. Okay, so here's what that section of the spell sounded like altogether. Okay, so next I focused on the explosion part of the sound. I started off with the metal impact sound, and I added an EQ to cut out the low end and boost the high end. I then again made use of sidechaining with the whoosh sound, so this ended up affecting the gain, a frequency shifter, and the high band of an EQ. I then added the Devil Lock plugin to give the sound a bit more crunch and impact. On top of this, I layered the sound of paper being crunched to act as the fire part of the sound. I added the Decapitator plugin to make it sound a bit more crunchy and aggressive. And then added some EQ to cut out that low end flutter. To finish this part of the sound, I simply added the sound of a fireplace igniting to really enhance that explosion. So here's what that section sounded like altogether. The last part of the sound that I wanted to create was when the character collects the items that were left on the floor. To do this I used a layer of the goose hiss again, along with a recording I did of a lid popping open, which originally sounded like this. I then reversed this sound and shifted up the frequency to make it sound like this. On top of this, I added my recording of a light bulb flickering. This originally sounded too intense, so I used a sidechain connected to the sound of a plunger. I know it sounds strange, but it had the exact shape I was looking for, so worked perfectly to shape the flickering light. I added a frequency shifter, delay, EQ and chorus, with the sidechain only affecting the gain and the high band of the EQ. Here's how those effects change the sound. So here's that little section played all together. The only remaining sound is the whirlwind that's left behind after the spell. So to record this, I blew lightly into the side of a Rode NTG2 shotgun microphone to get this deep whistle wind effect. So I added a frequency shifter to lower the sound. EQ to reduce some resonant frequencies. And then 2 different delays to make it sound like this. To finish this off, on some of the sounds I added reverb sends. So the reverb I ended up using was the plugin Little Plate by Soundtoys. So those are all the sounds I layered to create this piece. I'll play it through once more. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of Sound Design Experiments. If you have any feedback or suggestions for this series, then let me know in the comments down below, or send me a tweet on Twitter. See you in the next one.